Hey guys, it's Josh here from the Cathedral Music Podcast. Before this episode starts, we just wanted to let you know that it was recorded over 2 weeks ago. In that time, the conversation about institutionalized and systemic racism, rightly so, has taken center stage in the world's media, following the brutal and abhorrent deaths of victims such as George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, and Ahmaud Arbery. On Tuesday the 2nd of June, we joined in with the rest of the music industry and millions of other people around the world by observing Blackout Tuesday. We all took the time to engage in meaningful action by signing petitions, educating ourselves, and donating to the causes. If you have not yet had a chance to participate in any of these meaningful activities, then we recommend that you pause this podcast now and instead use the time to invest into actions that will bring about positive change and racial equality. If you want to listen to a podcast, you should check out About Race with Rennie Edo Lodge. If you want to watch something, then we recommend 13th on Netflix. Visit blacklivesmatter.com to educate yourself on the current issues. Sign the petitions that are circling, and of course, you can donate to the memorial funds of the victims and to the relevant charities. This episode will always be ready for you after you have had time to engage in these activities. Since this episode was recorded a couple of weeks ago, we do not address the topic of racial injustice on this particular episode. But in between then and now, we have been preparing a dedicated feature for the next episode in which we will dive into the issue in more detail. The next episode will be recorded on the 15th of June and released in the beginning of July. We are standing shoulder to shoulder with our black sisters and brothers in solidarity, and will do what we can to be a positive vehicle for change. With an issue as disgusting and prevalent as this, the show must be paused. So please take the time to pause this episode, participate in some activities for meaningful change, and when you come back, we really hope you enjoyed this episode.
Welcome to the Cathedral Music Podcast.
Hello and welcome to the May edition of the Cathedral Music Podcast, and the second edition we've created in lockdown. Cathedral Music is here to share the most boundary-breaking, creatively exciting music that explores the Christian faith. And if you thought in any way that the coronavirus was going to halt the release of good music, then you have been very sorely mistaken, my friend, because this month we have been treated to an absolute plethora of incredible music. So much so that we've had to alter the usual format of the show to fit as much of it in as possible. So, to kick us off, why not start with the fans' favourite? Each month, we hand the choice over to you on our Insta and Facebook page, allowing you to vote for your favourite, and we will then review that track on the episode. The winner of this month's fans' favourite comes courtesy of our very own Mark Wakefield. You voted for it. This is Golden by Amongst Wolves. You just heard him, so let's introduce you to our first host. As said on the track, he's worth his weight in gold. Something he was never told. False! That's not true! I know that your mother is commonly known as Encourager-Lyn, and therefore your childhood was filled with nothing but positivity, hugs, and ice cream. So my first question to you, Mark Wakefield, is where do you get off?
Answer the question, Mark.
Every single month, it's my new favourite intro. Apart from this month, because you scathingly attacked my mother.
No, I didn't attack her. I supported her. She is an encourager. I'm attacking you for your lies and treachery.
Yeah, no. Well,
you know full well you're worth your weight in gold, Mark Wakefield. How do you sleep at night?
I do, but it's not me singing that bit. That's Dan. So it's okay. That's not me lying. I sing the bit where I say, I am golden. I'm alive and I'm chosen. So,
well, on previous episodes, we've heard of our next host's obsessive record collecting addiction, a habit that has only intensified during this lockdown period. In order to secure funds to feed his addiction, he has recently turned to illicit money-making schemes through the dark world of online surveys. He reached a new low this week as his wife went missing amongst the hordes of records. She was last seen in the French disco deep cut section of the collection. But on the plus side for him, our voiceover lady has plucked up the courage to finally make a move on him, and his new Ben Folds 5 vinyl provides the perfect soundtrack for a first date. Ladies and gentlemen, it's Jacob Kemp!
What's up, everybody? It's good to be here. I can only be here shortly because my record collection is missing me, but I've got an hour and a half for you.
my only critique is that you haven't captioned your listening of the vinyl countdown. That's my only critique.
I think as well for this point, because we made a joke in the last episode that we didn't follow up or clarify actually. the voiceover lady actually is Jacob's wife.
Yeah,
So
that
that's
is my
what-
wife.
That's why the joke works there, you know, because it's not about extramarital activity.
And that's why it's so funny.
That's why it's funny, because it's the same person.
Because it's my hard wife, Rachel Kemp.
Yeah.
I love you, babe.
All right, bro, don't sound desperate, man.
Hey, Jacob, does she call you pee-pee?
A joke for later in the podcast. Oh, but let's talk about Golden. It is the fans' favourite, Mark. It's the fans'
I know.
favourite. They voted for it. We gave them 9 tracks to vote for, and the most voted for track came back as Golden. How'd you feel,
And
bro?
you only voted for it 7 times. I'm so proud of you.
I know. I was so restrained. No.
You only made 7 extra Instagram accounts to vote for it.
Yeah. Cathedral.voter is a legit person, I think you'll find. That's a legit account. I didn't create it. I'm very proud to have fans' favourite. It seems like the fans want more rock because we had August Burns Red, we've had Amongst Wolves. So
Yeah.
I say we give the fans what they're asking for. We shake up this whole Christian
Give them what
music
they
thing
want.
and do some rock music stuff. What do you think? What do you say?
Well, I'd like to think that Christian and rock music can work hand in hand together, Mark. I think that's kind of the whole point of this show. You may have missed something over the last few episodes of recording, that it's not 2 separate genres, that we're trying to bring the 2 together. Okay? Bring
Yeah,
it up to speed,
try
man.
harder, please, Mark. Can
Yeah,
you,
but that's
you
why
try
you're the
harder?
host and I'm the expert, right? That's literally how you introduce. I'm the expert, so you can take that.
But let's get on to Golden, Mark. Let's get on there because it is a absolute killer of a track. I saw it live. I mentioned this on the last podcast, but I saw it live back in February, and it blew my mind when I saw it. I had the riff in my head for days afterwards. It was so good. You know, the vocal line, because obviously you guys, the context in which you operate, you go into schools and you try and sing truth, and particularly to young people that are struggling with maybe mental health or feeling like they're on the outside. So to have that lyric going in there, that I'm worth my weight in gold, something I was never told. Oh, wow, to have that flying around the head is such a good thing. Go on, your turn. Unpack this song for us.
Because, I mean, not everyone has encouraging Lynn to tell them that they're worth their weight in gold. And like we like massively value obviously all these kids that we're in front of, and we want them to know that they are valued and they are loved by God first and foremost, that is who they are, that is their identity. And we do whole lessons based around identity. So to have a song like this that we can open up our lessons with and things like that, it is super powerful. And yeah, and also it's a bit of a jam, which helps the general effort too. It's so much fun to do live. It's how we open our shows as well. It's one of the more complicated guitar songs we've done, which makes it even more fun for me. Also, it's one of the songs I actually have to concentrate. But yeah, I really do love this song. I really do love it. And also I get to sing on it, which is quite fun too.
Yeah.
Mate, and you sound great on it, bro.
Thanks, man. I sound very American because the guy who did the demo has a super Californian singing voice. So I feel like I've my brain's gone, sing it just like that. And I'm golden. And I was
like channeled your full in her Blink-182.
Where are you? Exactly.
Where are you? But Jacob, you're a big fan of this song as well, weren't you?
Yeah, for sure. It's super cool being a part of some of your songs, bro. And I don't mean like I helped write them, but I mean I saw the inception of Rabbit Hole, which is another song we featured on the podcast, and then I was sort of there from the beginning of Golden and how it was being written, and just watched these songs grow. You know, like Mike Loretto, you know, the producer you guys have worked for ages, and John from Soulbox. I think they did a sick job at getting this song started for you guys. And then as you guys all joined the mix and started to turn this song into an Amongst Wolves track, I think you've done that so well. And man, and the guitars are sick. And I think that Dan, you know, your lead singer who helped produce it as well, he's done such a great job. I love like the moments where all the guitars pull out after the verse and it's like gown, 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 and then the chorus just hits so much harder each moment. And mate, and even that moment when you sing and then Dan comes in and starts singing harmonies with you, and it builds up, and then it's got the gown, 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 and instead of having like a snare hit, it just has like a finger snap. This song is so full of ear candy that like you hear another like moment every time.
It's a great song to introduce Dan as well, because there's some brilliant vocal runs in there as well, isn't there?
Yeah,
at the end he really shows off his range.
Yeah, I mean he's got some crazy pipes. He's got a cracking set of lungs on him, and I think this song isn't necessarily the one that shows it off the best. I think though, I mean, I'll do a little tease, but there's a couple of tracks that we've got queued up to come out soon as well, where that actually I think showcases vocals even more. The guy's a weapon, and shotgun, we got him. So get wrecked, world.
Well, we're not afraid of self-promotion, but that wasn't self-promotion because you voted for it. That was the fans' favourite, and if you didn't get a chance to vote, then make sure you follow us on Instagram and Facebook so that you can be part of next month's vote to bring in the next fans' favourite. But let's move on to the next section. It's been a weird time still. We're in, is it week 8 of lockdown now?
Yeah.
I think so,
Guys,
how are you holding up?
Doing good. I actually had a really big achievement this week, which was really cool. I play a lot of Football Manager in my downtime, and I recently got a trophy on Steam that only 1.1% of other Football Manager players have ever got, and that filled me with a real sense of accomplishment. Yeah.
We are so proud of you,
Mark. I'm so proud.
It's sad that it's I'm genuinely contemplating putting it on my CV. Like it's a genuinely big, it's a huge deal. So that's been getting me through lockdown big time.
Jacob, have you done anything any more productive and real as opposed to virtual?
Whoa! Don't be hating.
Don't be hating, man. I mean, my servers are paying off. My record collection is growing. It's been great. I just got a new Sufjan Stevens record, Justin Timberlake, some George Benson. Who's one of my favourite guitarists, and so it's been great, living the life, as it were.
Oh, nice.
How about you, Josh?
I turned 30. I had my 30th birthday in lockdown, didn't I?
You did? How did that go?
Yeah, it wasn't the big letdown that I was expecting.
Oh,
I actually enjoyed a small section of the day. No, I enjoyed a lot of it. My wife did an amazing job trying to make it really cool. And do you know what she did? She managed to get John Mark McMillan to record me a message.
No. That's amazing.
The man who is your favourite man recorded you a message.
The man who is my favourite man recorded me a birthday message.
Wow.
Yeah, it's his sort of classic John Mark McMillan, unmistakable sort of southern, lovely tones to his voice. And you sat there going, like, this is for me. I'm the Josh he's talking about.
He knows your name.
He knows my name.
That's crazy.
He messaged my wife.
Back off, bro.
Yeah. So that was cool, but we also had another famous celebrity moment as well. So I know you two are fans of Into the Spider-Verse, right? One of the most
love it,
breathtaking films, right? And the actor Jake Johnson, who plays Peter B. Parker, he has taken it upon himself to do his little thing, his little bit for the community and for the children that are stuck inside during this lockdown. And he's recording personalised messages for kids, personalised messages as Peter B. Parker. To say, keep your head up, Spider-Man's like thinking of you, we'll get through this. And he recorded 2 personalised messages for my boys. So they got it and was like, what? Spider-Man's talking to me.
That's amazing.
My 3-year-old was there going like, I think he thought it was an actual phone conversation. So he was going, okay, Spider-Man. Okay, Spider-Man. I'll get through this, Spider-Man. But yeah, here it is. Anyway, like, I don't know if I'm allowed to do this or not, but I'm going to play a clip. This is Peter B. Parker talking to my children.
Hey, River, it's Peter B. Parker from Spider-Verse. I heard you're stuck inside. I'm stuck inside too. I'm here in Queens with MJ. I just wanted to say, River, that I'm thinking about you. You're doing the right thing by staying inside. You're not missing anything because everybody's inside. And it's going to be over soon, okay, River? So keep up the good attitude. Do what you can inside. I'm doing the same. I'm trying not to eat too much pizza and get my belly too fat. But what are you going to do, River? And it's going to be over soon, okay, bud? Everybody at the Spider-Verse is thinking about you, River.
Oh, that's well cute. That's so nice.
That's amazing. So they got Spider-Man, you got John McMillan, but I feel like your wife's a little bit left out. Have you got anybody famous to talk to her?
Hey, she She gets a podcast host, boys, all right? Every day.
In her diary, as a kid, it says, Mrs. Podcast Host. Mrs. Podcast Host. She's living the dream, man.
Oh, and we got to say this point as well, actually. So if you listened last month, you'll have heard our interview with the brilliant Tobe. So first of all, apologies for the poor quality. We did want to put subtitles on, but you know.
This is a purely audio medium.
A purely audio medium, and therefore. So we did try. We were like, right, let's do it again. Let's just put it out there. Skype let us down. I'm just saying, Skype, up your game. This is now your time to take the lead. And I think Zoom really, Zoom is there. Anyway, we decided that we were going to try and record it again the next day, but we couldn't because Tobe actually went into labour and she has given a lovely child.
Wow.
So congratulations, Tobe.
Congratulations, Tobe.
Woo.
Yeah. But another good news. Do you want to know something really funny and weird and interesting? We
literally
when you say
always.
it's funny, weird, and interesting, I'm very intrigued.
We reached the dizzy heights of 138 on Canada's Christian podcast charts.
No, we did not.
way.
That's such an achievement.
138. We're back, Canada. We're back.
We're back, yeah. So we can add that to our tour. We'll go to Norway, then to Canada. But
Man,
it gets a little better because at this moment in time of recording, we are currently 182nd on the Great British Christianity charts this month.
yes,
We made it into the top 200.
Yes, we finally made it to the top 182. That was one of our goals for the year.
I didn't think we'd get there till December. I thought we'd be stuck at like 190 for ages, but we're 182. We've done it, guys.
We cracked it.
Oh, get the
Tick.
champagne out.
Get the rum out. Let's go.
What an achievement.
Wow, that's awesome, man. Keep us posted on that.
The only way is down from here, guys. But we've had some lovely reviews as well. Danny Erin, my friend from Arizona, wrote in. She gave us 5 stars. She wrote
Legend.
on Apple Podcasts that it's been especially nice to listen to during the COVID-19 lockdown. It's like hanging out with friends, especially since one of them is a friend. Hi, Josh. I love the interviews and always come away with new music to listen to. Keep up the good work.
Well done, Josh. Smashing it, bro.
Well, it's a team effort. What can I
So
say?
good.
But, these shoulders are a little bit tired now from carrying the weight of it all. We also had another 5-star rating from Thomas Favell where it said, not at all what I expected from the name. Great music, interesting interviews and good questions asked, plus some fun along the way. Really unique. I loved it.
Oh, thanks, man. We love you.
We love you. And we should
love
probably
you,
should
random
explain
citizen.
about the name. I don't know if we ever explained the name. I think we did maybe in one of the trailers or something. But
I don't know.
I think we maybe did in the first episode.
maybe,
But let's go again.
Let's go again. For anyone new that's coming in that hasn't listened to that first episode. So the idea behind cathedrals, obviously there are these huge, impressive structures that were built to give glory to God, and music within the cathedral, obviously would be holy, but it would be big sounds that would fill the whole chamber, it'd fill the building. And we wanted to sort of reimagine what is that sound like, these big songs that give glory to God, like these big impressive sounds, big impressive structures that help congregate people together. And so that's kind of where the name came from, and also I think it sounds cool. So that's Cathedral.
great.
Does sound cool.
Yeah, there we go. We had an email as well, guys. Someone emailed in saying
Electronic mail.
5 stars for the podcast. This is from Carol. 5 stars for the podcast. Just wanted to say I'm loving your podcast. As a veteran Christian, a whole 43 years old, I'm not usually into worship, so it's brilliant to be able to hear Christian contemporary music that is happening and will be happening in the future. I really like the shuffle section, often with hilarious results when people don't recognise their own music. Thank you for putting together such an important and relevant podcast.
Well, you're very welcome. And shuffle play is a lot harder than it sounds, I'd like to say. As the resident loser, it's a lot harder than it sounds.
Resident loser but reigning champ.
Yeah, exactly. Resident loser but reigning champ.
One more.
That's actually what's going to be on my gravestone. Resident loser, but reigning champ.
One more review. We got this from Kelsey Cousins on Castbox from the US. This latest installment of the Cathedral Music Podcast was a great combination of humour, fun, and musical exploration. I enjoyed laughing along with the banter between the podcasters, and I find the musical commentary fascinating. Even though I'm not particularly knowledgeable about the music creation process, this podcast is very accessible, entertaining, and uplifting.
That's exactly what we want. That's what we want,
Kelsey.
That's great, isn't it? And I like that she said about that point about, she's not particularly knowledgeable about the whole music creation process, but this podcast isn't necessarily just for people that are into that, is it? This is for people that are into music, and we might want to sort of shine a light on that for people that don't know, so that they can go like, oh, wow, cool, that's interesting, I never would have noticed that before. Or for people that do know, so they can go, now I can hear that and understand why, and I enjoy that and appreciate that. So it's for everyone, right?
Yeah, exactly. That's awesome. I'm glad you feel included and part of the team, Kelsey. And I hope you get learning. I hope you find some more music you like. Please do continue to send in your written reviews on Apple Podcasts and Castbox. Or like Carol, you can email us at hello@thecathedralmusic.com.
We regularly release record reviews on our website, so if you enjoy reading up on your favourite records, then why not head over to www.thecathedralmusic.com and check out the reviews that we have on albums like Governor B's Everywhere Nowhere and Inflorescence by Half Alive.
Whilst you're on the website, check out our track list section for a full list of songs played on the episode. Make sure to sign up to our newsletter, through which we will be able to send you the most exciting news emerging from within the industry.
If you're after more music, then why not head over to Spotify, where we have a whole host of playlists, including our recently added hip-hop and indie playlists, as well as a playlist for every song we have ever played on the podcast, making it easier for you to find the songs that you love.
Make sure to follow us on Instagram and Facebook at The Cathedral Music, and on Twitter at Cathedral_music. And if you do like our podcast, then please hit subscribe if you haven't already, and maybe next month we'll stand the chance of reaching 181 on the Great Britain Christian podcast charts. Woo! The dizzy heights.
What a day.
The dizzy heights.
The Lord.
My vertigo is kicking in because of how high up
Lie
we
down
are.
quickly.
The Lord is good. Blessing after blessing after blessing. 181.
Hallelujah.
We'll claim it. Come on, next month.
Come on.
Big day.
Let's go.
Also, in big news, our Patreon page is now live. So you guys have the chance to access additional exclusive content for a small monthly payment. As you know, we hand out this content for free, and we remain committed to doing so, but there are quite a few overheads that we need to pay for each month. So through our Patreon page, supporters can give as little as £3 a month to access additional benefits, such as additional podcast material, discounted merchandise,
Brackets when it's released.
And monthly Zoom calls with us and special guests.
I like that one.
So you don't have to just...
Do you want to see our faces?
Yeah, do you want to see our faces? Do you want to not just listen to interviews, but engage in interviews? Ask questions of some of your favourite artists? Oh, yes, please. You don't have to do this, but if you've got a little bit of spare cash and you think, yeah, these guys aren't doing a bad job, dang nabbit, I'm going to support them and their wonderful little show, then why not head over to www.patreon.com, which is patreon.com/The Cathedral Music. And if it helps, maybe see it a bit like tithing, but you get something back from it more than just a lovely warm feeling in your tummy.
I love that tithing tummy feeling.
Yeah, it's the tithing tummy feeling. There has been so much incredible music released in the last month, so much so that, like I said earlier, we've had to change the format of the show a little bit. We'll still include the mixtape of a few of our favourite singles, but what we're going to do is explore 5 different records this month. 5! Can you believe it? 5!
5?
5?
5?
5?
5?
5?
5 different records this month, as well as a different track from each one of them that we will put forward as well to be considered for the standout single of the month, which we will award at the end of the show. And to kick off, we were very happy to be joined by Pyramid Park to discuss his new record, Not an Island.
Not an Island by Pyramid Park.
And we're now excited to be joined by the one and only Pyramid Park. How you doing, Pyramid Park.
I'm very good. How are you?
I'm good. I feel like I did this joke with Wild a couple of months ago. I'm not sure whether to continue it or not, where I didn't call him by his real name. I just called him Wild throughout the entire interview.
You
So
can
I'm
do
like,
that
do
if
I
you
call
wish.
Pyramid?
Yeah.
Can I call you Pyramid the whole way through?
Or Pyramid Pete.
What about
Or-
PP? No,
Not PP. PP's bad.
I heard it when I said it.
It's gone.
Oh, that's funny. That's funny.
I actually have this thing called there's this guy who I know quite well in our church, and he's got this kind of nasally voice, and he always shouts out at me, "Oi, Pyramid!" But he has to do it 3 times before I turn around because he does it all the time. So we do sometimes at the right gigs. We sometimes do this whole shout out thing of "Oi, Pyramid" throughout the gig, which is quite hilarious.
That's great.
Strong.
Man, well, we're lucky to have you because you're hot property today. You've just come fresh off the back of an interview with BBC Introducing, right?
Yeah, very rock and roll, isn't it? Most evenings I'm sat down watching Netflix. But thank you. Yeah,
Well,
hot property. I'll take that.
So obviously you've just released this brilliant record. First of all, just to address, it's been released in a very challenging time, hasn't it? You know, how has obviously the lockdown of the COVID-19 situation affected the release of this?
It's obviously impacted it. This week I was meant to be in the Netherlands for a tour.
Oh.
So yeah, that's a bit of a shame. And I really, do you know what? The worst thing is not having an album launch party. I love album launch
for
parties.
sure, man.
They're kind of just the best gigs and great to connect with people.
Yeah.
And people actually buy music from you on the night, you know? So it's a killer, really. Killer blow that doesn't happen. But seriously, I don't mind. About a month before the release, I knew, this is not going to work out how I want
for sure.
it. So you just have to adapt. And I think in a way, kind of the way I've been working the last 3 years, you have to kind of adapt every single day. So you just find a way and you make it work.
Yeah, so have you got any plans to hopefully get out on tour or do some stuff when we're allowed out?
We'll see. I mean, we had, I think, 8 festivals booked this summer. So I guess we're not doing most of those, if not all of them. I think if I don't get to tour this year, we'll do it next year. So we'll find a way.
Yeah, man. Do like a late album launch party.
Yeah.
Well, we've got a Christmas party that we do every year
That
in
sounds
Cambridge.
great.
So that's probably going to be
That's
like the one for me, I think.
Sick, man.
Why don't you just do a tour of Christmas parties?
That sounds so fun.
Yeah.
Pyramid Christmas.
It's
Pyramid
literally-
this Christmas.
Yeah, Pyramid Park Christmas party. I've done 2 so far.
I'd go.
And it's becoming a thing now. So yeah,
That's
come
great.
along. You're welcome.
That's
Come on.
great.
Come on.
Amazing, man. And so this is your 3rd record. How has your approach to, writing and recording and releasing records changed between this one and your first one?
So yeah, I guess the biggest thing was the name change after the first record.
Yeah.
So I used to work for a church as a worship pastor.
Okay.
And that first album called I Hear Your Voice was written to kind of encourage people to engage with God in their personal walk. And so that was a very specific focus.
Yeah.
And the reason was because I just felt like in church we were just turning up Sunday to Sunday.
Yeah.
And I really felt like if we were going to go anywhere else but just what we were used to, we needed to build something into that. So I wrote from that perspective, and that was really good because I never thought I could pull off an album, to be honest with you. And I didn't know that was the album of just like finding out what my strengths and weaknesses were. It was kind of like an indie folk album. Then Vulnerability felt like, okay, this is a new thing now. This is kind of the sound I want to create. And then this one feels like, okay, now I know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
And this is exactly this is the direction I'm heading.
Yeah. And I'm blessed to have a signed copy
Wow.
of the Vulnerability album.
Wow.
What a claim to fame.
I know. And I dug it out the other day and sent Pete a message about it, actually. Oh, no, I've given away your real name.
You ruined it.
Yeah.
Oh, Joshua. Oh, Joshua.
The mystique has been blown. Oh.
What a shame.
Okay.
I have a
What
real
a
name.
shame. Yeah. Oh yeah, but no, my friend was down there. Did my friend play in the
Cola,
band with you as well? At some
yeah,
point?
he
Cola
did.
played,
He did a bit of touring a couple of years back with us. So yeah, amazing.
Yeah.
Good lad.
Oh, he's a good lad, and he brought me back a signed copy of the album. So
What
I was
a
very happy
sweetheart.
with that.
What a sweetheart.
Yeah. We just spoke about your previous employment as working in a church, and obviously the Christian community, music is like a huge element of life. You know, and in every town, every city, there are dozens of bands rehearsing and performing each week.
Yeah.
It's obviously in the context of sung congregational worship, but it's something that the members of the church, they know and they understand and they can accept it in that format as a band playing at the front of church to get people to sing along with them. But what made you decide to sort of veer away from that context of the sung congregational stuff and write and record, you know, your own stuff with this a different flavour to it?
Yeah, it's always for me like the whole whatever project, and I know this is a really cliche thing to say, but it is all worship, but it's just a different process of worship. And I think, you know, when people say that, oh yeah, everything's worship, yeah, I get that, but I really do believe every one of these songs can carry the presence of God. It just may not be that obvious. Yeah. But actually, sometimes I think that can have more power in a context which isn't a worship context than sometimes some of our sung worship contexts. So, and maybe that's a bit of a heresy thing to say, but my passion would be to lead people in worship who don't even know they're being led in worship through some of these songs.
Wow.
So I had to change my way of writing, and I had to change, like, some of the songs on my first project would never have connected with that audience, and half of my vulnerability ones wouldn't either. So it was like, okay, well, who should I be reaching, and can I carry the presence of God in these places and actually, you know, let his presence and let kind of who I am just carry that and not worry too much about trying to explain things away. I don't mind telling people the truth of what we believe, but people are not going to respond that well to that, who have kind of historically engaged with my music. So it's I feel like this album's a bridge for me to people. And I always feel like it's a bridge between kingdom and culture. And so even with the way that we've marketed it, I've done some work with a PR company. None of them are Christians. They didn't even know I was a Christian until I told them my story, and they just like the music, and that's the highest compliment I can get, really.
Yeah, it's amazing.
I'm curious to know what's your favourite moment on this project?
Yeah, I don't know. That's the impossible question, isn't it? But I seem to remember, like, you guys, you're awesome. You send questions beforehand, so I know what part of that question was, and I prepared an answer for that. So, you know, maybe I can tell you that answer. My favourite kind of hook moment, which I think was part of that question, there's a song called Bitterness, which is a co-write with a girl called Ali Page, who's in the US. I saw a poem that she'd written on Instagram, and the first line of it went, "This root of bitterness has so many flavors." And I was like, oh, that's a great killer first line. I wonder if we can co-write and make something of this. So she's a poet who's also writes some songs. So the story behind that was quite an intense story, and I wanted to recreate that in the way that the instruments played. So for me, in the breakdown before the bridge of that song, there's like this da, 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 but there's also another guitar one going up and one going down. And I think with a lot of music, there's this, we can fill stuff out with the typical pad, rhythm guitar, or driving bass. Like, and that's like the most boring thing to do in a song, but it works, so people do it, right?
Yeah, of course.
And the glue of that song at that moment was this guitar playing this like really weedy kind of kind of part, which was absolutely like a gluey moment. And for me, I'm like, yes, I've actually been able to glue something together without using a pad, a driving bass line, or some rhythm guitar. So for me, that whole little instrumental section is really, really fun to play. And when we came up with it, it was just like, yeah, okay, this is going to work.
Yeah, sweet, man.
That's really cool.
That's so good. So Pyramid Park is you, and you keep using the word we, and like one thing that's sort of making me think is like, you know, the kind of, you know, the Tame Impala is Kevin Parker, who creates everything, but when they're on tour, it is Tame Impala, which Kevin Parker and friends. So how does that exist for sort of you?
So Pyramid Park is me, but I think what I like about it is it causes people to ask that question.
Yeah, cool.
I'm just trying to write music that I like.
For sure.
So it just happens that I'm a guy on my own, basically, who brings in... I've got a live band who I usually play with, and that's normally 4 of us together.
Cool.
That's really fun. And then when I say we in the studio, it's mainly me and Ian, the producer. I guess like in modern day, like indie world, it's very hard for an indie band to survive.
Yeah.
But I think it's possible to survive as a soloist. But I'm just not writing folk kind of singer-songwriter stuff.
Yeah, for sure.
Hey, let's recreate things.
Yeah.
Genres are kind of, clashing and remaking themselves anyway.
Yeah,
so
of course. 100%.
Why not the same with us?
Yeah,
with music.
Yeah, man. Love that.
Onto a few of the tracks from the record.
Yeah.
A feature that you use and I absolutely love a couple of times on the album, like in Stairway and You Know I Know, is you've got the indie chirpy verse and the chorus before really big guitars and drums kick in to take the song up to another level. What influenced you when making that decision with these songs?
With Stairway, there's no bridge in the song. It's like the shortest written song on the album. So it needed something. And yeah, I mean, that was just instinctive, I think, of just like, oh, wow, we've kind of died with the keys, with all the different parts on the Juno and everything and the Prophet and stuff. So it was just like, oh, well, let's just go big. With You Know I Know, I mean, I've always wanted to write a song like that, but I've never known quite how to get there. It was almost not going to make it on the album because we just couldn't get it right. And I was determined to have a really heavy moment in the album that would just like go from like 0 to 100.
Yeah.
And that was the song to do it in. And we tracked everything in a bass cab instead of guitar amps for that moment, just to get it that real like horrible rough kind of drivey rat pedal kind of sound for those guitarists
You
listening.
totally get that for sure.
And then, but yeah, You Know I Know is just like we hacked it to bits. We had one day to finish it, and that whole part on the keys at the beginning was like the moment where we knew the song was going to work, you know. It was a massive pressure, that song, but it just had to go somewhere big because otherwise it was just going to be fun, and it needs to have something more to it than that. I'm too intense as a person, I think.
I bet it's such a relief though to have it on the record that you went through such a journey for that. Does that make sense?
I mean, to be honest with you, most of these songs for me have been harder to write in the sense that it's very easy to skirt around subjects and kind of allude to things. But when you say things direct, as I have quite a lot on this project, people can say, oh, has he lost his faith? Or, he's writing of bitterness and envy and stuff like that.
Yeah.
One of the tracks for me that really stood out was finishing on the 8 minutes of Being Honest. How did that kind of come about? I'm always fascinated by kind of feature length tracks on albums. Was the idea to write kind of a feature length track to put at the end, or did it just kind of happen? Like, what was the process with that one?
I like to think about, with an album project, where songs fit in quite early on. So you're looking at what's going to be like the killer singles, what's going to be like the long drawn out stuff. I felt like Being Honest was always going to be at the end of the album, final track, but I didn't realize it was going to be that long. It actually got rewritten a couple of times because it was a hard song to kind of write in a way, and it needed to have some sort of release at the end of it. Again, me and Ian, we just kind of were chatting about it, and we're like, let's just go long, and that was it. We're just going to... Every song is like 3 minutes, 3 minutes 30, 4 minutes. We just want to let off some steam here and just go. So at the end, there's all sorts of stuff going on. I'm shouting at the mic at the top of my voice at points, and just like we're whacking things in the studio. It's just, oh man, we can do this, so why not?
That's so good.
Another euphoric part on the record is part of the title track, Not an Island, because it's really intriguing because you've got like quite sort of sad and like low verses, and then completely contrasted with these big euphoric choruses, and it really reminded me both musically and lyrically of one of my favorite films, The Secret Life of Walter Mitty. I don't know if any of you guys have seen it.
Great movie.
Yep.
But like that, it's got like, you know, the whole story is him kind of like with this kind of almost this sad mundane life, and then this whole alter ego that's going on in his imagination, this whole other life that's going on, and what he steps into, and you know, lyrically and musically, you know, musically even sounds like it sort of captures some of those spirits that, you know, of the Monsters and Men songs, you know, that are on there and stuff. It really feels like it captures that spirit. I'd love to know what was the story behind that song coming together, and obviously with you choosing for it to become the title of the record.
I find it amazing that you picked that out because I love that film. I think it's got an incredible soundtrack. Jose Gonzalez. I mean that. That song. I mean, so many of the songs on there are amazing. So without even going any further, I actually came away from that watching that and wrote a song called Enemies, which is on my first record, and that was inspired by that. So I wonder if it's like Not an Island is like the dregs of Enemies. I had a chorus, right? The we are oh, and brought it to my friend Fez, who co-wrote Never Let Me Down, and we kind of just about finished the chorus together, and I tried to get something that would fit and couldn't really. So I sat down with another guy called Tom Reed, and we wrote the verses together and the bridge, and then it kind of made sense. But you're right, I've always, you know, when you write songs, and I know some of you guys are musicians as well, and when you write, you know, you've got something maybe as an idea, but finishing it off is always tricky when you've got such a strong one part that's so strong and everything else just doesn't work with it. And I guess when we were like recording it, it was a bit of an anomaly on the album. Most of the songs have either got a bit of a darkness or they've got an intensity to it. And that song, the only intense part of the lyrics, really, there's, you know, it's just happy in the choruses. And we're like, is this too happy for the album? Should it really be in this? Do we need to make it more miserable? But it just wouldn't go there. So we just went, let's just go, you know, anthemic with it. And choosing a name for the project was quite tough, actually. All the ideas that I had weren't that good, and the only one that seemed to work was Not an Island. So at the 11th hour, I just was like, wow, it's going to be called Not an Island. The song's about unity. It's about how we need each other, how we probably need each other a lot more than what we think we do, and kind of calling people together a lot more. And, you know, we've obviously as a nation seen a lot of things, traveling around Europe the last couple of years, playing a lot of summer events. You know, people come up to me and like, what's going on? You know, Brexit, what's that all about? And it's not just how you voted, you know, but you see these people who like they're bewildered, and same in our country, and you're like, well, actually there's a lot of good people around here who need a savior and who are calling out for something more. And maybe this song is something that's going to help draw people together a little bit and seek first the kingdom of God, you know. So that's my heart with that.
That's great.
Cool, bro. Thank you so much for joining us. Fans of the podcast will recognize some of your music from previous episodes where we've played a couple of tracks as well. So it's really great to have you on and chat more in detail about your records. So we wish you all the best for the next season. And
thank you.
When you come out of quarantine, let's have a whole load of Pyramid Park Christmas parties across the UK.
Pyramid Park Christmas party tour. That would be something, wouldn't it? Thanks so much for having me. Appreciate it.
Thanks, man. See you soon.
Bye.
Cool.
See you.
The Cathedral Music Podcast.
That was the brilliant Pyramid Park. Let's head on to now our second record review of the episode.
Exit by Wande.
That was the sound of Wande, one of the most exciting voices in the industry right now. And that album, Exit, is a brilliant first release of a record. The track we were just playing then was Wakonde, which we will put forward to be considered for our standout single of the month as well. But guys, what a way to introduce herself on a full record, to say, this is me, here I am, this is my music, here you go, world.
Yeah, 100%. We chatted about Blessed Up, you know, in our 2019 year in review, and Blessed Up was a huge track, but I think she's stepped even further forward. You know, she's got such a voice, like you were just saying, a whole persona that I think really comes across on this, you know, and Taylor Hill, who's one of the producers who worked on most of this album, someone who's worked with Drake and Triple E and Lecrae, who's also an artist in his own right, has really helped her bring that character, bring that skill to life with so many incredible tracks, so many hard hitting tracks. And I think, as a result of Exit, I think she's really going to make a name for herself.
I don't know about you guys, but when I was listening to this record, the thing that I kept coming back to was just seemed to be an air of there's a swagger to this, and there's a confidence in delivery
She
and
has
vision.
so much swag. You're so right.
And so you're listening to this, and it's almost infectious. And like the word for me for this was just pure confidence in the delivery and in the vision 100%. Of what she was trying to achieve. So then, like you've got jams like Happy, which is just this kind of feel good, but we talked about it. Was it last episode as well? We talked about it, but then there's kind of those darker lyrics to it, but it's still a joyful, happy song. And then Wakande comes in, and it's I've labelled it a power jam. If you've got Happy as a jam, and Wakande comes in as this power jam, almost like it's like a battle cry to female artists. It's almost saying, we've had this glass ceiling above us. Now let's use that as our floor, and we're going to go on and smash it. And I was like, I felt enthused and empowered despite not being in any of the criteria. I felt enthused and empowered. I was like, yes, come on, like this is awesome. And for me, my favourite, I absolutely love Wakande, but as I listen to it more and more, the next track, Iconic, actually slowly starts to become more and more my favourite. There's some almost Christianese in this, but it's completely removed by the confidence in the delivery and in the vision of what the song is trying to achieve. So there's a moment where she sings, "Ease my mind, have your way, free my mind, I would pray, Lord, have your way here every day. Because you see that it gets hard, I get tired, but he rose. So in spite, walk by faith, not by sight." Sick, awesome lyrics, biblical lyrics. Could be a hymn, exactly. But it's delivered with this confident swagger that makes you kind of take it in, but also not be drowned by it.
What's really incredible about her confidence is that she's gone straight into an album.
Yeah.
A lot of rap artists will release singles, they'll do features on other stuff, and then they might do like a mixtape for a while, and then work out for a long time who they are and what their sound
Childish
is.
Gambino put out 5 mixtapes before he put out his first album. That's like the usual thing.
So that's what rappers do now. But she was like, this is what I want to say. I'm here. I'm confident in what my voice is. I want to put out this album. And I learned that her journey actually went, she was an intern at Reach Records, then went to being an employee to now being one of their rap artists as a star.
No way.
Yeah, and she's done that journey quickly. And she's kind of like, she's showing, hey, I've got all this potential. But now she's delivered something so impressive that it's kind of like, potential's nothing until you've delivered something. And now she's delivered something. It's kind of like, you've warranted this voice. You've warranted this opportunity to be considered at the top of the industry.
100%. And just before we finish, you guys just heard the track Wakande, and we chatted about it a little bit, but can we talk about that just a little bit more? Because what a vibe. So I mean, I was listening to the album when I went for a run the other day, one of my Boris runs, and and I was like, okay, this is cool. But as soon as that track Wakande hit, like it comes in with like the Afro beat and like the Latin vibes, and then like and then that bass hits and like it finished, and I literally stopped running. I was like, I have to spin that again. And I like paused my run, and I found Apple Music, I put it on again, and I think I listened to it 3 times in a row, and I ran, and I just kept running and listening because it's so good.
I love that rhythmic rap to it. Like the way that the sort of the rhythmic delivery of it carries almost the percussion element of it, and then it hits you in that second verse and a bit later with the call and response 90s hip hop like gang vocals section. Like, that is so cool.
100%. And I think it's so, I mean, like super Jay-Z, Tom Ford vibes with that like that sub bass boom 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 boom, like so good. And the producer Ace Harris has worked with Lil Wayne and T.I., Andy Mineo, Nicki Minaj, another like producer who's working with big names. And I think it's so clever that it's like 2 minutes long, because every time I finish listening to it without fail, I go, I listen to it just one more time. Let me just put it on one more time.
That was our review of the brilliant Exit by Wande. Hats off to you, Wande. That is a superb record. We loved Happy, which was our standout single from the April edition, and you have backed it up with a brilliant record full of absolute bangers, fusing R&B and hip-hop. We love it. Everyone else, you need to go check it out. But we're now going to move on to the mixtape now. This is just a selection of some of the other songs that we loved this month. We hope you love this section. If you like any of the songs, make sure to check out our playlist on Spotify or the tracklist section on our website so you can find out more about that track. COVID-19 has not stopped the great music coming out. Like, we cannot possibly create a podcast that has everything in that we want to talk about. You know, we've got to fire through like 5 incredible singles now. We can't talk about all of them, but Mark, Jacob, we got 5 tracks there that we loved, some extremely creative stuff in there. Which of those do you want to talk about?
I mean, which ones do I not want to talk about? Because there's so many great tracks. I mean, that Change For Me track by Samm Henshaw and Brasstracks is just another absolute banger from Samm Henshaw. Like, I mentioned in our drive-through, if you listen to that, but I think, you know, Sam Hugh is he or is he not the king of happy feel-good tracks? Because he may be, because he just brings such just an uplifting, happy vibe with his melodies and with the way that he comes across. And then obviously Brasstracks
Soulful Town.
Exactly. And the Brasstracks have helped, you know, empower that with all of the brass, and it's just been, you know, loads of fun.
Again, I think for me, Luke Zell's King is just one of the most bizarre tracks we've reviewed, but also one of the best. It's just a menagerie of creativity. I'm going to use the word menagerie, and I'd like some praise for that. Well done, and now for more normal Mark language, it's just a bunch of loads of stuff. There's so many little there's so many little creative nuggets in here in terms of the production, but then also lyrically, there's also loads of really cool elements. I love again that kind of swaggery way he delivers that whole he's given me all that I wanted. I don't know if you've heard, but my father's a king. I don't need a crowd made of dust. He gave me imperishable wealth. I don't need no treasures that rust. Again, it's like almost old English with that, he gave me imperishable wealth. Like, if you read that in Proverbs or in a hymn written in the 1200s, you wouldn't bat an eye.
And Cathedral music is about celebrating the most creative and music that's happening in Christian culture right now. And this is one of the most creative songs. It almost feels like, to me, like I'm a proper indie kid. And it feels like somebody who is an indie kid, but is using that within rap and like hip hop. Yeah. And he sort of meshed those two together and created this amalgamation of whatever this song is. And it's absolutely fantastic.
And we're absolute suckers for a great hip hop track. And Tobe Nwigwe blew our minds with an absolute incredible belter of a track. I mean, it's got one heck of a name, inspired by Fat, after we went to the Beyonce concert. I mean, what a name. The song has got layer upon layer. It keeps intensifying as it goes on and on and on. He's got this fast pace of delivering it. The bars are full of wit and speed. It's just such a clever song that draws you in. And my mind almost couldn't contain how good and clever it was. It was so good.
Yeah, definitely one of those tracks that you have to listen to a few times to start to comprehend what is happening.
Cool. That is our mixtape section of the show. We hope you like it. We're now going to move on to the section of the show that Mark likes a little bit more now, because he has won around.
Yeah, boy!
This is Shuffle Play.
Yeah, woo!
Shuffle.
I'm excited. I'm actually excited this week.
You actually excited yet? You feeling confident?
No. Not excited, not confident.
Jacob, are you sort of sitting in that pool of sweat that you normally sit in just before Shuffle Play?
You know what? I'm actually feeling a little bit chill. Not that I feel like I've got this in the bag, but it's just I feel a little bit relaxed. It's the evening. We're gonna have some fun. I don't think Mark's gonna win, so we'll see what happens.
Shuffle Play is the game where I take control of the contestants' music library and I press shuffle, and they have 30 seconds to try and guess the title and the artist of the song that they can hear. Obviously, it is on shuffle, so they have no idea what's coming. But as we've had previously in the last episode, we're in quarantine, so I can't access their music library. So I've just had to choose 3 songs for them each, and let's hope that they know the songs, they like the songs, and they can guess the songs. So here we go. Mark, you were the winner last time, so you get the joy of going first.
Oh, I don't like this. I don't like this.
You don't like this, but Carol the emailer does like it. So let's continue.
Yes, Carol.
Carol.
Right, Mark. You have 30 seconds. Let's move on to the next record to review. This is Sajan Nauriyal.
Perspective by Sajan Nauriyal.
One of the most recent records on this podcast, it is Sajan Nauriyal with Perspective. It's full of bright, poppy tunes. We're fusing in hip-hop. You've got electronica in there. It's such a good album, isn't it, Mark? You really, really like this one.
I really enjoyed this one. It kind of caught me off guard just how much I enjoyed it. I think this one was absolutely beautiful. Genuinely absolutely beautiful. There were some moments where I got some real Jonathan Ogden vibes. I don't know about you guys, but it kind of felt like, particularly the track 1,000 Times, really felt like I was listening to Jonathan Ogden 24 again, but with like an extra urban pop influence and production that made it like super unique and, to be honest, really sick. Lightning for me was just the high of the whole album, the track Lightning. There was this mad, tasty bass tone that kicks you off. It's super grungy and like dirty, but it totally fits in with this beautiful kind of delicate almost song, the rest of it around it. There was these like real beautiful moments of the natural instruments and this whole project really shining through, like the acoustic guitars on Slow Down,
brilliant.
The bass here, and there's guitar moments elsewhere as well. There's just this amazing thing. And one of the things I really loved about particularly this track Lightning was where it comes from, being about how lightning shines brightest in the darkness, and that's when you see it when it's dark, and that's how he's been reflecting on God at the moment. And like there was just, and I could talk about this for ages. I genuinely could. Just a superb album. You
talk about natural sounds. What I love is that he started the record off with a sample of a vibrating phone. On the side of like, a worktop or something.
I was playing that earlier and I was like, Rachel was like, babe, your phone's ringing.
And it's clever that he used that as like as a percussion technique that goes through. And you're talking about intimacy. One thing I noticed, I think he was really calm and content with the ability to use space in the music as well.
Yeah.
That's exactly a thing that I pointed out 100%, yeah.
He didn't rush into feeling like he needed to fill every second. There was moments where the track could really breathe. Particularly, obviously, the last track, there's no vocals in. We've got that big instrumental piece. But there was moments when he just like let it hang, or you could feel like, I'm just breathing, and it became natural and okay to sort of be in the moment within it because it pulled you into that intimacy.
Yeah. I think I had moments like that, and then I think I had the moments where I noticed that he relied a lot on some of the moments where he was relying on his vocal performance, and I really take my hat off to that as like someone who really easily hides behind his guitar. A lot is like, I know I'm a good guitarist, so I'll play my guitar really well, and then if I sing, people, and if I hit a bum note, then people will just notice the guitar. But I think he really kind of lets his voice shine out, and especially in that intro track where the track really is just that phone vibrating, and then his vocals, and it builds and builds and builds, but it's his vocal that's building, and he does this really fast-paced melody. But I think his vocal really stands out a lot on this record, and I think he's done that really well. I think it's a really creative R&B meets pop record.
Yeah. And the track you were listening to just then, back with that, was Trust, which had the feature of Cass on there, who is a brilliant artist leading the way, getting her on there as well. That is such a good poppy vibe, isn't it, with the great hip-hop sort of influence as well that he's put on there as well. I mean, that really stands out as an identifiable track on the record, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And then slap back in the middle of it, he really brings home the intention behind his music, because in the middle of the record is the interlude message where he has this incredible message. He's got like a modulation on the vocals, but he just delivers this really hard, inescapable gospel message in there to say, this is what it's all about. This is why I'm here. This is why I do what I do.
Yeah. Powerful, man.
Yeah, 100%. It's so important and so special, and it's so cool that he can use his art to share that message amongst all of these songs. He kind of draws the people in and then hits them with this really powerful message right in the middle, which is, I think, a really cool and a real clever way to do something like that.
On to our next record. Here is a little taste of what's to come from Half Alive.
Inflorescence by Half Alive.
That was the incredible Half Alive, and that song was Runaway. Oh my goodness. When I heard this song, like I sit there, right, every Friday, New Music Friday, I sit there with my phone and I sort of set it at like a medium level.
Okay.
And I'm almost like daring the music on my phone. I was like, make me turn you up. Like, you got to give me a reason so that I'd like dive into this more. And within seconds I was on this. And then when it hits that chorus where the time signature changes, oh my gosh.
My
and I was thinking, this is just an incredible piece of music anyway. And then when I started like diving into the lyrics, I was like, oh, this is everything. This is everything to me. This is like, it's my birthday, it's Christmas, New Year's, Easter, everything all in one. Like, it was so good because it was this brilliant, exciting piece of music that was
100%.
backed up with exciting faith-based lyrics, exploring Christianity in a fresh, relevant way.
Yeah.
It was one of the most memorable moments for me in terms of like listening to music and applying it with my faith, like almost like teaming it up with that first moment you really sit down with a King's Kaleidoscope album and think, this is a game changer for me. This really was
100%.
an incredible album, wasn't it?
That's a really clever way to say that. I love that the first time you sit down with the King's album, because it's like there is so much information that I need to digest right now. Not in a bad way, but there's just so much coming through my ears into my brain face that like I need to I don't know how I said that I need to figure out and digest, but it's all so good. Like every time I listen, I'm like, where do I start talking about this other than it sounding so much like Beirut? And please, Half Alive, release this on vinyl, I beg you. But it's so cool to see like an indie band who are a a three-piece, I think they are. And they've already got, the sort of success with the album that these songs are featured on originally. But then it's so cool to see them and how clever they are listening to their album, that they've taken these songs to a completely new and different level, how they've reimagined them. I love how the gorgeous way that the orchestra plays into this, how it's especially on track 1, it's such a cinematic feeling when the song starts and all of these, you can really just picture. I sort of almost imagine myself sat like in the center of the orchestra, like a 60-piece orchestra, and I'm sat right in the middle and they're all playing and it's all building up around me to build to this song.
One of the things that's really grown on me as well with this track, with this EP, is the second track, Still Feel.
Oh man,
I've really got into it as well. Like, it's just this funkiest little intro, and I like this big, like almost MJ, like Michael Jackson vibes when the bass kind of kicks in. Like, it's really bopping, and then you go into the lyrics of the chorus and stuff. It's, I'm not a slave, can't be contained, pick me from the dark, so pull me from the grave, because I still feel alive. Like,
100%.
Oh, it's just gospel. 100%. It's gospel content, and like you said, Josh, but it's wrapped up in this well-produced, beautifully creative piece of art, and like, what more can we ask for? Like, this is what we do, right? Like, it's just beautiful.
And the thing is, right, so you're mentioning Still Feel there. The whole thing about this record, right, is that it is a reimagination of some of their existing songs. So they're this indie band, right? Yeah. And Still Feel has got like 49 million streams on Spotify. 49 million streams.
The dream.
Right. This is kind of like, this is a message to all Christian musicians, right? If you ever heard anyone say that, like, you cannot mention Jesus Christ and talk about faith in your records and be popular and successful, then this is like the example to say, shut your mouth, because like, it's about the quality of music, it's about the expression in which you can communicate your faith, the relevance, because this is relevant, this is exciting people like not of faith, this is exciting 49 million worth of streams, this is so good. And the fact that we sat there listening to Runaway and you're thinking, this sounds familiar, like, why do I know this song? And we worked out, Mark, that this song is...
It's on FIFA!
It's on FIFA!
I literally, when Josh sent this through, he was like, this is amazing, this is beautiful, and we kind of chucked it on, and I was sat there and I was just like, I know this. We've reviewed this before. Josh is mistaken. Like, we've done this before. This came out ages ago because I know the lyrics.
Yeah.
Like, why would I know the lyrics? And I was like, oh, shoot, it's on FIFA. And then went and searched back and looked at like their full album and stuff. And I was like, oh, no way. Like, I know this song. And like, that for me as a young musician when I was like, I don't know, like 11 or 12, getting a song on FIFA was like the pinnacle of you have made it as a musician. Yes. Like, forget Glastonbury, forget Platinum. I want to be on FIFA, mate. Like, that was it. That was the one. And they've done it.
It's such a target.
Yeah.
And they've done it. But they've done it with gospel-centered lyrics as well. Like,
100%.
From the track Creature, right? I'm going to read this out, okay? Prepare yourself, listener, because this is...
I'm ready.
This is incredible, right? Early days and sleepless nights, death and resurrection life. My body is a sacred note sung between the flesh and hope. My dirt transformed within a breath before I took a single step. I'm looking forward to the day when life can grow without decay. Humanity is not alone when Jesus Christ sits on the throne.
Unbelievable.
Oh,
It's so
unbelievable.
good. It properly shocked me when that lyric came on because I was like, it caught me off guard, but not in a negative way. Like, oh, that's cheesy. They've just tried to crowbar the word Jesus into their song so they sound Christian. But it's like he's just speaking out of his relationship and out of his experience of what it means to have a faith and to be a Christian.
Yeah.
There's a really small detail as well that I absolutely love. As he delivers it, his voice is kind of shaking. Like, he's kind of, he's like, there's a nervousness, there's like a fear and a reverence of what the world is, and then it's almost juxtaposed with this fear and reverence of who Jesus is when he's on the throne. And it's like this beautifully intimate moment. And if someone banged that out in the middle of a preach, you'd be like, yes, mate, come on, amen, hallelujah. That's what you'd be like, right? But he's done it. They've done it on a massively commercial record.
You, the listener, absolutely need to check this out. This is Inflorescence by Half Alive.
The Cathedral Music Podcast.
We're now going to move on to our fifth. We have done it. Can you believe it? Five?
Five?
Are you serious?
5?
We've done 5 record reviews in this podcast now. Here is the last one. This is an absolute incredible banger of an album with a huge amount of features. Check it out.
Catch by Peter CottonTale.
That was Catch by Peter CottonTale. And of the 5 records, we have decided, and it was a hard decision because, as we have said multiple times on this podcast, there has been a huge amount of fantastic music released this month and some brilliant records. But this is the one we have decided is our sit-down record of the month. You need to sit down with a cup of tea, maybe line up 3 cups of tea because it's a whole 17 tracks long. But this is Catch by Peter CottonTale. He has used his impressive address book to try and get some brilliant names on there. But this is one that you absolutely need to check out. It is an incredible piece of art, isn't it, Jacob?
Yeah, it's absolutely fantastic. I absolutely love it. Peter CottonTale has been with Chance the Rapper since, 10 days. He's also worked with people like SZA and Mark Ronson and Skrillex. And like you said, he's got an impressive, address book, and he's brought loads of these people in. And it sounds like, Chance the Rapper meets, the Sunday Service Choir who've working with Kanye, and they've done this album together. And it's so explicitly Christian, but not in a cheesy way. And not for 1 minute did I think like, oh, that's a bit cringe, or oh, that's a bit Christianese. I just loved it, and from track 1 it just gets you straight away. I remember pressing play on that and going, oh my days, I want to join the rest of what this album has got to give me. The all the elements, the soul, the gospel, the hip hop, how he blends it all together with live music, not just using programming. And like you said, it's 17 songs, but it's not too long.
The length of the album is long, but also the list of the features is long, isn't it, Mark?
It is 31 features. If that doesn't break some kind of international record, it certainly breaks the record of my personal listening. 31 features. And I think you know what, like, it really aids to the diversity of the album in terms of, it's a long album, but it feels so diverse and different because of the changing voices, the changing tones, the changing influence, all of these different people bringing their influence in. And you've got massive names on this, like Jacob was saying, Chance the Rapper, but you've also got like Rex Orange County and Madison Ryan and Jess Colony and and loads of massive people who bring some really cool flavors into this. And so while you've got this kind of mad creativity of Pete Cottontail, you've then got all of these other people infusing stuff in. And I don't know about you guys, I found it really hard to put this in a genre. It feels like it's everything. Like, it's gospel, it's R&B, it's congregational. I feel like I just kind of want to call it inspirational. Like, is that a genre? I don't know. Like, I just want to call it inspirational faith and songs and music. Like, it's all encompassing, it feels like. Like, and there are some brilliant moments, like, you know, like in amongst all of this, you got a 1 minute 40 track called Keys, Wallet, Phone, God. And that is
the best name for a song.
I wish I'd thought of that concept before then, because it's brilliant. It's so brilliant.
So good.
It's literally the process I do every day before I leave the house. Keys, wallet, phone. God, I could do with that. Yeah, that'd be helpful.
It's brilliant, and like there's just so many things we could pull out of this. But I think drawing on one of the things Jacob said about, like, they really embrace the church element in this project in terms of lyrically, stylistically, thematically. There's a real emphasis on the positive sides of church. And obviously we looked last month at Governor B, maybe drawing out some of the negatives and seeing how God works through that. And then in this project with Peter Cottontail, we're looking at the immense positives of church family together, of choirs, of feel-good music, of singing praises to Jesus, of dwelling on the fact that God is love, on being that he is an intrinsic part of every day. Like, you can go on and on.
I want to run this by you as well. He said in an interview with the Chicago Tribune that Catch is not a religious album. He said if it was a religious album, it would be more traditional, which is an interesting point in itself. But it then goes on to say, the story doesn't end with God's plan, and it doesn't end with Jesus Walks, like 2 songs, and it doesn't end with Jesus is King. It's pretty much starting, and people are starting to realise what they're talking about belief-wise is very important. It's okay to express what you believe in, and don't be afraid to put that into your art. We shouldn't be held back or told we can only make certain types of music. This is the only thing that can be successful. Not really. Not if we as a community construct our own lane.
Wow.
I think if we were to have like a quote or like a mantra or like a mission statement for cathedral music, I think that would be it, wouldn't it?
Yeah, 100%. That's powerful, man.
And I think that's a really good point. I think there's so many artists on this record who I don't know whether they do have a faith, and I think it's really important, and it's really cool that Peter Cottontail is invited them onto this project and is kind of just being, well, this is my faith, and we're going to sing about it, and this is what I want to talk about. And someone like Chance the Rapper, who I know who has a faith and has talked about it openly over the past few months and few years, and it's been more and more. But over the past few months on Twitter, I've actually seen him talk a lot more about his faith, and I think that's since he's been involved with this record. It's basically every day he's posting something about God on his Twitter feed, or about his faith. Like, let me see the likes for because God is real. Like, let's raise our hands because God loves us. Like, it's really cool seeing that happen to someone like Chance, who already had an open faith. So how much is that going to speak to people like PJ Morton? How much is that going to speak to people like Rex Orange County? How much is that going to speak to so many of these other 31 people who were featured on this record? And
those
really cool.
The audience of those 31 people as well.
Yeah, exactly. 100%.
Yeah, and Forever Always is the song on here that's picked up the most traction, isn't it? And that's got 12 million plays alone in this month. Wow. I mean, the sort of music that we're talking about in this genre life, you get 12 million plays over the entire length of a person's career. That is like absolutely incredible. But to get that in a month is amazing. And what a brilliant opportunity platform Peter Cottontail's got to convey his faith in a really relevant way. It's absolutely mind-blowing.
100%, man. 100%. And one thing that I keep coming back to is that he's worked with Chance for a really long time, and he's been like a touring musician with Chance the Rapper and with other artists. It's really cool seeing a man of faith in the industry who's going, actually, I have this platform, so let me talk about God over 17 songs. Let me invite my friends who already respect me as an artist, and let's do this together. And I think that's really cool.
Yeah. Art just seems to open doors that nothing else can, and I feel like Peter CottonTale has absolutely grasped that with this.
Yeah. I feel like we could talk about this album for so long. There's so much stuff to go through in this. There's so many notes I've got here that we just don't have time to go into because we have an hour and a half to keep to, although we probably already exceeded that anyway. But you need to go and listen to this album. Culturally, it's a really important album of the time. Musically, it's really fun to listen to. Lyrically, it is packed with gospel content that will enrich your soul.
The Cathedral Music Podcast.
Let's move on now to the final thing. We spoke about the unity of the church through Peter CottonTale's record there, but we're going to go into our pop culture moment now and talk about the UK blessing.
Yeah.
In a time when we are separated from each other, our buildings are closed, but the church is alive and well. That's the refrain that the video ends with, because it is a beautiful video and it is a great expression showing how music can pull each other together. We have 65 different churches working together on a song that was written by Elevation and Carrie Job to pray and sing a blessing over our nation in this really tough time. And there's a pop culture moment that this had to be it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know about you, but when it came out, my Facebook was flooded with shares. Because I think it connected with so many people. Like you said, music really brings people together, and seeing something like this with collaboration and friendship and family, bringing people together on top of music, I think it's just a really beautiful expression of togetherness and of family. And I think it really resonated with people, and I feel like a lot of non-Christians also would have resonated with it in terms of that whole togetherness. And I think there's a real perception from the outside world, but also from inside the church, of real division. And so to see this kind of statement of faith and family come out was, I think, a really beautiful moment. And it's got 2.6 million views as of this recording. Wow. And like you said, for the times we're in now, it is so much more precious that it's out now than it was if it had been out any other time.
Yeah, for sure. I think this is who the church is supposed to be. I mean, you guys agree. The church who is supposed to be, it's not supposed to be a building. It's supposed to be the people who are reaching out to the world, the lost and broken and hurting. Yeah. And that's, I think, exactly what, Tim Hughes and co were trying to achieve in this video. It's just like, actually, let's unite together, because that's what the church is. It's not just a bunch of buildings, but it is one united body of Christ.
Yeah. In a time when we're really hopeless, like, we're seeing, what is it like? It's like 1 in 4 people have like experienced an online church service or something like that.
Yeah, 1 in 4 people. Yeah.
Yeah, they're turning to it. They're looking for it, and this vision of unity and hope is so precious and so powerful, and can deliver exactly what we need in this huge time of not just national but global crisis.
Yeah. It's one of those things to be reminded that that God can use anything for His good, and even at this time when the world is completely different, when the world is changing, when the entire world is hurting from this right now, God can still use it for His good. That is mind-blowing, isn't it? That is absolutely mind-blowing.
Exactly. And not that He did it for this reason at all, but it shows that it's not just living within the homes of Christians right now. The fact that Boris Johnson, our Prime Minister, has seen it and has given Tim Hughes an award. It's being recognized of something that's uniting people. Yeah. And that's really cool that it's like that Jesus is the thing behind this. So it's like, hopefully the people will be like, oh, some Christians, he's got an award. What is that for? And hopefully they'll dig into that and maybe meet Jesus as a result of it, which is awesome.
Yeah, Boris's quote was, "Your sensational singing masterpiece, The UK Blessing, is truly uplifting and has touched millions around the world with its message of hope and its beauty." They're the words coming from our Prime Minister. And it's incredible to see the recognition that's got. What I love about this as well is it's not just the charismatic churches as well. We're seeing like the Salvation Army in there. There's Catholics in there as well, which is, it's just beautiful to see that in this time, when it all boils down to it, there is more that unites us as a church than what divides us. And that is what we need to hold on to, isn't it?
That's so good.
And that is it. We have ventured through 5 different records.
5?
5?
5? Wow.
5 different records. We've gone through 5 different songs.
5?
5 different singles on the mixtape. We've got the fans' favourite as well. And out of all of that, we are now down to try and choose which one is our standout single of the month. For no other reason than, yeah, we like to have a standout single, and it probably won't mean that much to the artist, but hey, we like to do it! I mean, I think any one of these tracks could possibly take it, but we have just about settled together on the fact that we think Change for Me by Brasstracks and Samm Henshaw should be our standout single of the month. It was a hard call, wasn't it? But what tipped it over the edge for you, Jacob?
It's just so feel good. It's so happy, and I think that's such. I love that I don't know if they saved it, but in my head, in my dream world, in my brain, they saved it for a moment like this where the world needs songs like this. I love how live it is. It doesn't sound like there's a lot of programmed stuff. There's a lot of live instruments. There's, the brass. And then I love that the ending is just a huge jamming as he's singing. All the instruments are jamming together. And then you get that really old school fade out that everybody pretends they hate, but they actually love. The track just fades out into nothing, and it's just so good. It's such a fun track.
This is the end of our exploration of a huge amount of brilliant music.
Five?
This has been a lot of fun, even though we are in quarantine and lockdown. Restrictions are changing, so maybe in a month's time we might be able to be near each other. Who knows?
Who knows?
Imagine
it's a dream right now.
Oh man, we could cuddle again.
I could touch your face.
Don't worry, we won't break any rules. It's only if Boris himself lets us.
Yeah. We've got some equity in the bag after the UK blessing. He really liked that, so. Yeah, but that was the May edition of the Cathedral Music Podcast. We hope you've enjoyed that. We hope you enjoyed the drive-through episode that was released a couple of weeks ago, and we'll be doing another drive-through episode in a couple more weeks. Make sure you subscribe to this podcast if you haven't already. Maybe, like Mark said, we could hit 181 on the Great British Christian Podcast charts.
Come on.
I can only dream of such wonderful things.
Come on.
And if you haven't already, make sure to follow us on Instagram, Facebook and Twitter at The Cathedral Music, and Twitter is at Cathedral_music. We post out regularly the record reviews. We've got a lot of content on there, clips from the podcast. There's a huge amount that we share on there. We're not just active the 2 times that you receive a podcast in the month. But someone that's been extremely active is Samm Henshaw, and some other people that have been extremely active are Brasstracks, and they have put together an absolute banger of the song. There's no better way to end this podcast than with our standout track of the month. This is Change for Me.
See you next time.
Bye-bye.